India sold over 2 million electric vehicles in the year 2024, which sounds like an absolutely massive number at first glance. But here is the crucial catch. EVs still represent less than 8% of all new vehicles purchased across the nation. And yet, the official target aggressively pushes us to reach a 30% penetration rate by the year 2030. So today, we are going to do the necessary math to see if this ambitious goal is actually achievable or just political optimism. For context, the EV sales figure for 2024 specifically clocked in at just over 2.08 million units sold. That impressive volume only translates to a current market penetration of 7.66% in the broader automotive landscape. By the conclusion of this video, you will possess a clear understanding of whether India's EV dream is truly realistic or merely political hope. It is vital to understand why this particular Niti Aayog report carries so much more weight than usual announcements. This document is not just another government subsidy announcement aimed at short-term market stimulus. It is also distinctly not just a standard marketing deck produced by one of the established original equipment manufacturers. What makes this report groundbreaking is that it actively questions the fundamental design of India's current EV strategy. The key framing here is the official acknowledgement that subsidies alone simply will not be enough to achieve the massive shift required. This is arguably the very first time an official report has explicitly stated that the current path is likely flawed without systemic change. Let's now dive into the full, unvarnished data story of India's electric vehicle growth trajectory since the beginning. Back in 2016, the entire electric vehicle market in India sold a mere 50,000 units, a truly fractional start. Fast forward to 2024, and we see that number explode to a substantial 2.08 million electric vehicles sold in that single year. This represents an astonishing growth factor of nearly 40 times over a relatively short span of just 8 years. However, we must immediately confront the penetration reality when looking at this significant sales volume. India's current EV share hovers uncomfortably around 7.66% of the total vehicles hitting the roads today. Compare that to the global average, where the worldwide EV share has already managed to cross the 16.5% mark. Even more strikingly, China's domestic EV penetration has already decisively surpassed the 30% threshold. The essential insight here is that while we are growing rapidly, it is from a comparatively very small and low base level. This brings us directly to the critical 30% by 2030 problem, which requires a very sober mathematical breakdown. We are currently at roughly 8% penetration, and the destination is a firm 30% in about 5 years. That means we must effectively close a 22 percentage point gap in a timeline that is becoming increasingly short. To achieve this, the actual volume of electric vehicle sales must reliably triple or even quadruple from where they stand today. Simultaneously, the required charging infrastructure must grow by a staggering 100 times its current existing capacity. Furthermore, the entire financing ecosystem must pivot away from government subsidies and heavily rely upon credit availability. Now is the moment for you to pause and seriously ask yourself, have you witnessed any automotive transition in India happen this astonishingly fast before? Moving on to the headlines, let's examine what the $200 billion opportunity truly means in tangible terms. This massive figure is derived from several key pillars of the emerging electric ecosystem across the country. A significant portion comes from the actual manufacturing of the electric vehicles themselves, fostering domestic production. Another huge segment is dedicated to constructing the necessary battery gigafactories to power this new fleet. A dedicated investment stream is earmarked specifically for building out the nationwide charging infrastructure network. The remaining value is unlocked through associated fields like advanced software, essential services, and responsible battery recycling. This transformation promises substantial new job creation and a significant boost to India's overall export capabilities. To anchor this, battery demand alone is projected to exceed a staggering 250 gigawatt hours by the year 2035. On the charging front, the requirement is for approximately 2.9 million operational chargers to be installed by that same deadline. Contrast this immense need with the current reality where we only have about 25,000 public charging points available in 2024. The punchline is that this entire narrative is far less about just selling more vehicles and much more about industrial transformation. Now we must address the most crucial and perhaps uncomfortable section. What is actually broken within the current system design? The first major disconnect is a massive infrastructure mismatch, where chargers sit idle in some areas while highways remain barren. Entire stretches of the country's most vital arterial highways still lack any reliable public charging options whatsoever. The second major hurdle lies in a substantial financing gap, especially when considering the needs of commercial fleet operators. Commercial EV deployments alone require an estimated 45 to 55,000 crore rupees in immediate capital. Despite this clear need, many traditional banks still categorize electric vehicles as inherently high-risk assets for lending purposes. The third issue stems from what appears to be a growing sense of policy fatigue among the market participants. While FAME-eyed committed over 11,500 crore rupees, the desired car and truck adoption rates remain sluggish. Similarly, the newer PM eDrive initiative, with its 10,900 crore outlay, has not yet solved the core adoption issue. The strong line coming from this analysis is that India does not suffer from an EV demand problem. We have a system design problem. This leads us to Niti Aayog's most radical and potentially controversial recommendation: a fundamental shift from incentives to force. The old playbook relied heavily on direct financial incentives, government cash subsidies, and small-scale pilot programs. The new recommended approach leans into mandates, strict zero-emission zones, and active disincentives for old technology. This includes enforcing strict EV saturation targets within clearly defined, high-density metropolitan areas first. The controversial question that immediately arises from this shift is one you must consider for yourself. Would you personally accept higher or increasing taxes on petrol and diesel if it made purchasing an EV significantly cheaper for you? Finally, let's arrive at the ultimate verdict. Will India actually succeed in achieving this ambitious electrification target by 2030? The answer is a qualified yes, but only if several key conditions are met without any further delay. Success is probable if the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segments continue to lead the adoption charge overwhelmingly. Another necessary condition is for city-level adoption mandates to be fully implemented and enforced starting as early as 2026. Furthermore, unlocking dedicated, sustainable financing for large commercial fleets is an absolute non-negotiable prerequisite. Conversely, the goal is likely to fail if the government continues to rely solely on piecemeal, slow-moving subsidies. The plan will also be derailed if the narrative remains overly focused on the slower-moving, high-cost passenger car segment. And finally, failure is certain if the fragmented charging infrastructure problem is not resolved urgently and comprehensively. The hard truth is that India does not actually need faster electric vehicles right now. It desperately needs faster, clearer decisions. This brings us to the call to action, where your opinion truly matters in shaping the national conversation moving forward. We want to hear from you in the comments below. Should the government consider mandating EVs in major metro cities by a certain date? And critically, what single factor is currently the biggest hurdle stopping you or your family from purchasing an electric vehicle today? Share your thoughts on the feasibility of the 30% target and the required industrial overhaul in the space below. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into India's complex electric vehicle reality check, and we look forward to your insights.